Greetings to my lovely people in Uganda. Greetings to my friends all over the world. Greetings to my friends here in the United States. Greetings to people from where I come from, people of Pade, Kitgum, Gulu. Those are my own family, but Uganda seems to me like a big village because I grew up, in Kampala, where our neighbors spoke different languages. And so Uganda as a whole is a big, big village for all Ugandans, and we're welcome to go and live and do things anywhere within Uganda and not feel out of place. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Amor wunduchu afoyo bino ba afoyo di adeda admor wun wengi kamuti ye jomati US, jomati Uganda, jomati lobo pari afoyo wun bino. Anya lady ati bino bot wo komberi chawane ki US kamana berie chawane. Amor wun weng afoyo wun bino. I take a program on manona, maybe one chow shell. Away kongwa. Wanong update. Jim Mabergati Megan Kuya, King on Guinea. Hello Sid, hello Mwene. You're welcome, you're welcome. So welcome everyone. I want to dive right into the security alerts before I go into the different areas that I want to concentrate in. So maybe that's a good idea to get us ahead. Amero kwangu ki lock makilwoni security alert man lock manotie e kinjo ma gitamoni dong miare gena ye lo wane jo ma akirwanda jo makilwoni balalo jo makilwoni jo adonyi jo pa Museveni gi jemi mati camp gi ena ya kelko beri chawane pian ketana wachi woni tie down mati ie kunu mati tiu kwetgi nyo mati beru kwetgi nyo mari kwetgi keri jo mabere no gi or ne guchat guti ento no pegi miero kuri kwo magi antika kelo ne kom down mano anywali me Uganda pegi maru ditch magitika neno neni pian gen bena no kien mokana gi noni gen ngo Uganda dong large Uganda beru gang pa down ma pol dok anywali me Uganda tie kitwero ilobogi pingo Johnny, Joadi, money, again, I'm here to get a law, Uganda. So I'm saying that I'm going to dive into the security alerts that have to do with Museveni and his camp and the Rwandese and the Walalos and the foreigners who feel like they must own Uganda. When I speak about foreign, I live in a foreign land. I've been welcomed gracefully to the United States, but I will never dream of exerting everything that's me or that I think or believe, including taking over this country and feeling like everything must run the way I like, which is what is wrong with Uganda, okay? It is not about having foreigners living in Uganda that is a problem for Uganda. The problem with the foreigners in Uganda is that we took in refugees, Rwandese, the Musevenis, they came as refugees, foreigners born elsewhere, but they've decided to take over Uganda and make Uganda their own. Not even to say that we want to live together in Uganda with Ugandans and integrate peacefully. No, they want to make sure Ugandan-born nationals do not exist in their own country. That is our problem with these Rwandese people, and that's why they must go. Gien marach ki anatika wachi anati lobo me America kuberi chawani. Lobo me America umina kuoma pano abinongune kamoke ken ilobo moke ken wa kete pian pa beru kam ilobo mapari mapol ento America ye lobo makilwoni first country lobo number chel now lobo mati America ma ana bino yeni ana bino ki jola kimina jami wengma kitwar mina kimina yo to twale men neno ni ayen yo me yo kwona piera kena beni kimina jami wenko kimina yo kiwachi in kitade oni kita do itwaro kere era ye kita in bikuo kere ento An party lobo eni kuna wachi Jomi weng madogo lokom loji lobo eni miero bet kita an iya miero kere. I cannot do that. Eni petwere. Ana beri lo America eni. Kuna war chiek me lo America eni. Kuna beri te chiek me lo America eni. Kun gien wachi wan wakwo kuman. Ana lobo en ma gien waju ni. An pik party ka bino ki twero na. Pian ana welo. An beri ki jola. An paro mutonu kita yeo miero kere. I lobo eni ni. Pian ni dong atie kan. Meno ye pero ma Museveni giti ka kelune Uganda. An pa kwero ni lobo mukene dan ma aki lobo mukene romberi Uganda. No, warombero. En to bero ma wan beru ni. Ki bet kuno ka ini welo. Miere bini donyi bet ki kori kwa ma jo mani kwa kere ni. Dok in pe miere bini ma teloko. Pian ke kete ka ini bini wele gang pangaru mani ni. Ini la cho. Ino la cho da ko luteno ki beru get ki beru gang e gang yan ki beru get mot. Ini bino ki kori diwi mani ni. I miete jame wan bet kita in i miero kere. Da ko pangaru mani bede la do migi. Luteno pa jo mani miero kwa kita ini miero kere. Mero pe twere. I'm saying that the reason why we fight these Rwandese people is because when they came to Uganda, they are not guests like I have come to the United States and I follow the law and I live by the standards of the United States and I live by the rule of law and I live under the leadership of the United States. I never question what they decide. I never question what they do. I never question their leadership. Neither do I want to take over the United States, to run it on my own, how I wish, how I want. No, I am a guest in this country and I will live peacefully. And if I don't like it, I can go somewhere else. But I don't have to exert my beliefs, my powers, my leadership, take over this country, minimize the life of the Americans, ban them from doing this and that, which is their way of living. I cannot do that. That is the problem we have with Rwandese in Uganda. It's because Museveni thinks he must be the president for all his life, then give power to his son. First of all, Museveni being a president is wrong. In Uganda, Museveni is not eligible for presidency in Uganda by virtue of being born in Rwanda and coming to Uganda as a refugee. There's nothing wrong with refugees. Jesus was a refugee. There is nothing wrong with refugees. But these people's intentions is to take over Uganda and make Uganda a proxy or a federation of Rwanda, which includes making Ugandans slaves to them, making Ugandans poor to dirt, making Ugandans poor in education, and in everything else. They want to make sure a Ugandan national does not thrive or rise up the ranks of leadership in their own country. That is the problem we have with Rwandese occupation of Uganda. There's nothing else. We are not enemies in any way. There's nothing else they've done to us. The problem is their invasion and ill intentions that we see every single day. In leadership, education, healthcare, economy. I mean, talk about religion. In every single way, they want to dominate Uganda. That is our problem. That is our problem. It is not about being Rwandese identity. No, it's about the practices of these people in Uganda. Okay, and we'll dive further into that. But Atika Wachi, pero wa me Uganda en ma ana logo ma biona logo jui kora wachi Rwandese kora balalo kora peni adek jo ma kiloni Rwandese ko adek kitgi kitimgi magentam ne gen miere gi bina Uganda gi lo kita wan wa kwokere gi lo tela Uganda ni Museveni miere ena yo bed president kaut a woda ye miere lo ka eno a wod geran wota mhoze dak miere ogera ogam loch mano beda party petie lobo moke ken ma ye kori kwa enone. There is not a place in the world where that dominance of the Rwandese of modern day colonialism is acceptable. And that is why I speak. I have no personal grudge with any Rwandese. None. I just don't like how they're doing things and how they want to take over Uganda. So, to my death, I will fight these Rwandese people in every way I can. Okay? Awachi yomo ke ken ma ana tuero abineno ni lokom Rwandese enini amede ki logo ye. Mangar mo ken po bichoko anni. Pien petie lobo mo ke ken ma kuri kwa enini timme. Petie ngomara ki gangi. Pingo gen peperu gangi gitimme kita yigu miero kere ki gangi kuno. Lobo gitie. Pingo gibiano gimayo lobo mukene. Gimietu dog megi. Pingo. Petie lobo mo ken Uganda makwa igena lobo mo ke ken ma ye kuri kwa enne. Petie. Neno. So ati wachi jo mogo ma timme ni gichoko anni. Gibalo kare gi. Pien. Logmana logo ni penny adega. Pi gimo mano terpe. No. Adega ni. Tere tie ma wunbero binano. Okay? So, wakati kong logma kilone and security logma no ti kam gi ngur ma ti kam gi kuno ni. Amiete atitu wakonge wakno yu pe kid mengo. Kid me nano ni wunu ubedo ugere. Menano ni no ukwo yomo pore. Wako nene Lord me Uganda udwaka chinjo Uganda. Pian gena yang kita gen kwa kede. Kita kwa de yogi kwede. So I'm going to dive into the security alerts just to let you know that I am not offended by Rwandese being Rwandese. You can be Rwandese anywhere. They're everywhere in the world. In the United States, I know some. But it doesn't mean that they have to be the leaders of Uganda, that they must run Uganda, that Museveni is the only person who can be president. He's going into 47 years of leadership. That Muhoozi has to take over from Museveni. That Muhoozi's son, who I just saw, is a Sandhurst, must take over after Museveni. That is what is wrong. I am not offended. I don't hate Rwandese people as a people. You can go and be Rwandese in Rwanda. Do whatever the heck you want, but do not come to Uganda and just make sure that Ugandans do not exist because you see fit that only you are or could be leaders of Uganda. Okay? So that is the problem, and I'd like everybody to know it is not a personal grudge. It is just not right that these people with their evil plans, which I'm going to tell you, must continue doing this to Uganda. And several arms or several leaderships or religious leaders, political leaders, Ugandan people who of good faith, of good wishes for Uganda have all been compromised. There is not a single church that thinks anything of that is wrong. Few of them have come out. Granted, they are heavily intimidated. But where is your faith? Where is your spiritual standing when you cannot stand up for what's right? Why then do we come to you for spiritual fulfillment? When? When is it appropriate? When people of Chitezi, today, they've plowed down several people's houses. A woman is on the street with all of her belongings and her house is flat on the ground. Not a single religious body, religious leader, LLC or whomever has come out to say, these are the evil plans of these people. And this is what they intend for Uganda. For Ugandans not to rise again. Not to rise again. So I will give you some examples, but I'd like to go through these security alerts so that you know and understand why certain things have been happening the way they've been happening. I've missed a couple of days, but I'll catch up on the updates as they should be. Okay. So as of, last week, I'm going to start there, okay? Abikuwa ke chabeto karne. Wurunge ni tuo Ebola. Tuo Ebola kia da oberuno pere ikarema you Minister of Health. Achengene adana tuina gikata giwachi Ebola ti Uganda. Kare no Ebola pere. Ineno. Ebola beru pere ento Museveni miete ke win ni tuo mani tika money. Enen yo menen ni tuo enu donyore Uganda where any non chente kilo ma waro. Ineno. Enu wero jocha ukati a cheng Minister Cheng Me Health kuberichando kilo ker donki ker ngato kene gide dana twino kati gwachi Ebola tie. Orune Madam America wachi, wun kita do tiki bola, wun again, Congo ki Uganda ni. Wun don't what will be on wako kan pe. Visa pa wajo, enjo, gi ruan Disney, wenking oloko. Wajo mo ka yenye visa don't peke yen no visa. Gu when you let go, chiku wa, oh, kara peke biye wan cher wako ba. E bola ni da to e yoro. Orune, Diana Cheng, Diana Twina, Gena Chengu Katagwe, e bola pe Uganda. Kun gi wale ni tie perani, pian gi tika yen yomene anone, gi wachi e bola tie wajo me Uganda, wigu gena ki tuwe wigiro, waru bed pere, ento genbe gi tia miati, chena ukatake wao, ento kita dong yogi me cher wako beda ko ngane ako ni ki lor ni, gunoni ha, kongdak, nanchal kong lock story ne ako. Wakwa nene jo wadom cher wako. Pien, gien tamuni inaka ke wachi down ma miro jomerio la wache liwe. Petwere loboni. Ching achut ki ching acham papat. Pi gena ruba yugo pere. Pien in kait pero mo tit ke giweng la wache unless no mer guti ka chel. Pero mo mero ching achut be ching acham. Uti ticha ching acham temo. Nyoy mero ching acham uti ticha ching achut tiu. Petwere. Tieja me mogo mero what pigi kengi pero mo chi bola pere do do wachi bola chi in anyway mo gina gono tem ento en ko magi wachi bola chi bola pe ni e ka titewu ki en kar magi wachi bola pe tieni ti do gungol da gu wachi bola pe ni Museveni unoni ki kwero chena o kilo mo wako pien go wai kito wai bola pe ni chere poi bieno dok bene joni do ngiu kito diwi Museveni obedo kede ko Gunoni ini kar la nywa ma juini ma gena bir ka kwan chena ki bodwane pien dong gungeyo video ma wan watimo eni charwa bodgi gungeyo diwi Museveni adeda e Museveni do wachi ko mana tim ni ninko ya uchero chinwo jo SFC police geren SFC ma lumon pa Museveni gini Gunoni joma wunu neno joma obino Uganda kenyu katimu me gena me surgery me gena bar ko dano me nena dunu ko surgery me adunu ke ngongo gini jomo aki Italy ni Museveni uluo jo SFC o wachi gini gum nong yo me mino ki joni tuo ma ki luoni Ebola ikar ma joni dong aki Uganda passports pa joni gurre roi Ebola roi ye Kureyo tuo Ebola I passports pa jo muni mo beru kenyu ma aki Italy mo beru katiji kom dana adiati. Kireyo Ebola roi sanitizer beru chabun ma kelwako cheng moni ma peke lwako pini. Ki kero mo go passport mo ke kere sanitizer. Joni dong tiyu kere gi dog gangi en dong gi poni watiki Ebola. Ebola ni wanto aki Uganda la wo majaba. Wano Ebola ki Uganda. En don kuberi chane news matika aki Italy wachi jomo ni abid money mago aki jomo aki Uganda humanitarian services mago biano kutimo surgery kumalo kunune kuberi chane gitiki Ebola ilobogi koenen Museveni mete tuoni aki muni wek muni do yeni tuoni ti Uganda wek tuoni ukwagi wek gutwal siente bot en Museveni I Uganda ine alkela jale raj kere. So I'm speaking about the Ebola issue. When the first day that Atwine and Acheng pronounced Ebola, they said Ebola is in Uganda because Museveni sent them to say Ebola is in Uganda, which is indeed, it was in Congo by the border. So when that happened, the United States said, well, travelers from Uganda and Congo should not be entering the United States willy-nilly because of the infection, fear of transfer of these infections. So the United States put a travel ban or restriction on Ugandans and Congolese, but Ugandans is what matters here. So with those restrictions, Museveni felt like, oh boy, now that we can't travel, that's a problem. That is a problem in their camp. So Museveni decided to send these people back, Diana Twine and Acheng, to come and say, we don't have Ebola anymore. Because they want to have their cake and eat it too. Hi, Stacy. That's my sister-in-law. So anyways, they want to have their cake and eat it too. It is so dangerous. So because Museveni will not get cash for the Ebola that he announced, because the Western world now knows how Museveni works, that when something happens, He purposely will do something so he can get funding from the Western world to do his personal affairs. Even if this money was given to him for Ebola, he would not use it for Ebola. He would use it for their personal family gain, which is normal. This is how they've run the country. It's always been that way. So anyways, so a chain comes out and says, the second day she comes out and says, oh, we don't have Ebola anymore. And so everyone is confused. But get this. In efforts to make sure that the Western world does give him cash or money towards Ebola, Museveni ordered his military, the SFCs, to go and find a group of humanitarian workers who had come to northern Uganda and Uganda in general to perform surgeries, free surgeries and procedures on several Ugandans who needed it. That group of humanitarian workers, while at the airport, Museveni had the SFC go and get the Ebola virus, somehow put it in hand sanitizer and spread some on their passports. So Uganda had not registered Ebola in the regions where these people were working. But to get these people to get him funding, Ebola was put on their passports and hand sanitizers. And today there is news from Italy that the group of humanitarian workers who came back from Uganda have Ebola in their systems. And somehow it's being treated. And it's being traced to have come from Uganda. So I know that this sounds crazy and sick, but I'm telling you, this is nothing compared to what the Museveni people do to Ugandans in Uganda. This is nothing. This is nothing. And they will stop at nothing to do even worse. So that's Ebola for you, okay? The next thing I want to talk about is the ministerial positions that were given, the cabinet that was formed by Museveni. I want to talk about a member of parliament called Nkeretanyi, who comes from is a new National Unity Platform member of parliament. Museveni, after that speech that he gave, after Nkeretanyi giving that speech at the ceremony where the ministers were announced, Museveni said that in Nkeretanyi he sees Nebanda. Do you remember who Nebanda is? Nebanda was a member of parliament of Butaleja in Uganda. Nebanda was a young, aspiring member of parliament, a successful and excellent member of parliament, young, with energetic, intelligent, questioned everything. And because her mind was open and because she was brilliant, Museveni decided that Nebanda would step on his toes. What he decided to do one day, I remember being in Uganda myself. Nebanda was in session in parliament, healthy, normal, with no issues. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Nebanda had been pronounced dead. Reason being that Nebanda had been arguing about certain bills that are being passed in parliament that were not right, that were pressing to a national Uganda, that were not developmental or good for the people of Uganda. And because Nebanda was vocal and loud and would make her point known and was not controlled by the system like they always want MPs to be, Nebanda died. Chris Baryomunsi was one of the people who was supposed to perform autopsy and all these things. Chris Baryomunsi made sure that the specimens that were taken from Nebanda never came to fruition. That is when Chris Baryomunsi used to still work with them. And we ended up never knowing what killed Nebanda. So Museveni says Nkeretanyi, the member of parliament for National Unity Platform, should be taken to him, dead or alive. He wants to talk to him nicely first. But if Nkeretanyi does not comply, complying basically means doing what Museveni wants. If he does not comply and come peacefully, he wants to see Nkeretanyi dead or alive. That is what Museveni does for people who have brains, who think independently, who want to move Uganda forward, who want a Uganda that works for all. This is something that they don't want to do, okay? So that is something that I know that they've reached out to Honorable Nkeretanyi. I don't have his contact number, but I'm sure most of my colleagues have it and have been able to reach him, okay? So that's about him. The next thing is by-elections. within the next 7 months that are left for 2026, in the Museveni camp or whatever, they would like to see 4 by-elections within the remaining 7 months of this year. Those by-elections are obviously in NUP areas, National Unity Platform areas. There are certain MPs that they want to take out, despite the fact that they have all the numbers that they have to win any or pass any bill. They still want to eliminate National Unity Platform members of parliament. That's a dangerous thing. Atika Wachi, oh, I'm so sorry. I must have lost track. Okay. So, Atika Wachi, tie member of parliament moni makiluoni nkere tanyi. Oberu danma aki Buganda kachani. Nkere tanyi la wumara karma ki yaro MPs gena cabinet pa Museveni. Nkere tanyi ukati kun omiyo speech. Kun speech ne wadu ne. Wun jo pa Museveni. Wan wafoi wu beri tela mwakapia rangwen. Utelo tela kun no wun ki family wun jo wu weng uberi gamente. Manyuti wafoi wun noga weng wajogang wu weng pian wun weng uti gamente. Ntere kanyinomiero ubienu luong dano ma eno be nominating machalo gene machalo gene umiere no kati o nominating dano ma ene mieti uberi gene is uberi speaker deputy speaker a position ene inkere tanyo kati kun waju ni en itika nominating wota Museveni makiluoni sodoni soda wunu ngewe uker ute ulogo lokene kun logo mer loga ranyi logo mer togo pien joni do nyar wadeda ni dago no ber minister ni wore kono beranga ni nyare kono beranga ni o wai do te o wendo u gwambe don eni ni ucher chibe chimeri ko maun ti kwere ni so eni Museveni wachi ha nkere tanyi ni toba wi tiyo deda pien Museveni no ngeni nkere tanyi biunu ka bare nkere tanyo aki bar Museveni udok wai inyar Museveni piano wachi wunno nkita do tam ni wuna do law Uganda wun wori o kilo remi wak do med wori bedoke ubien bedo chung chalo ngo gena speaker me deputy speaker a nominating sodo so geno wero kuberichani Museveni wachi kite iradano makilwoni nkere tanyi pian pange yuka ungeyu dano mano kilwoni nebanda ube member of parliament mi kama kilwoni Butaleja. E mwagali bario ki apara chela pari o Kenyo. Ano ati Uganda. Nebanda o uberno danuma ti vokola deda. Uberu danuma kati ya lori parliament dano wen watiki MP ada. Nebanda no kajo money tika kelo bill money mano noni penya wedano. Neba anda gonyu teje mi karte je mi rolo weng logo mati kun logo ma logo bod Museveni wachi gine ni manu tetem ne petetem ne mabe mano ti vokola deda oberu MP mano puti bulu neno koridano mano par pi jogeni karma neba anda aki parliament oberi parliament di cheng kina cha bu wen me otiana ki wai neba anda taga Karaman ne Museveni you pay men nano neki mi ki nebanda poison yat mane ko nebanda ko cha boro bungan koman ki wai nebanda dota dano mo ne nebanda parliament lurem nebanda wegi pen joganga nebanda gi ngarma mo yepe anno ati Uganda pena romo ye a following case yani wanoni karama joni dong nano nebanda tika dota de dai parliament Museveni wai ki neko kimi yat cha bungan nebanda no kwana renyo down makilwoni Chris Mario Munsi ena yela kwangine gene specimen kon wani ineno kake kwanyo pat kom ngaruma nini yakichat kipim kinongo monero Chris Mario Munsi kimi upate eno utemeke ratata holi weng piano puti bod gamente matiu ket gima be pat eno medirwen result me test eno weyo beru pere wakuberi chani ngata ngeyo genu ne banda pe ento kinge ni poison pien yat kake miyo ki dano neo dano yoro inen yat makai monya tuke chero go ikomi la wanchel tek do donyi remo chero wa damwi chero kam pat mo kene iponi don pera mo yue no de ta chiman Museveni wa ila cho makilwoni nkere tanyini kite bot en ka wai enemy lokere mabe kon ka jale okwaro umiere kikella choni bore by force kikaba unyo makome madong kwana orwenyoko ki en gina ke wani dead or alive ni ki te nkere tani bore kanyo kwa onyope kwa kapo ye charbor Museveni pi bere ineno gin mo kera mana cha lo ye ana by election Museveni gitika wachi ene dua bier modonge eni memo alibario ke Piero Beccelli eni emiere nene by election utime gina district angwen mono no tika wachi i area pa MPs pa nup o miere ki nene MPs mo ke kwanyo ki yo me kore mugo no ke kwanyo ko ge kwanya tika meti MPs me NRM mo meta deda inano Johnny chungi cholba petika meto jo down chol senyo ni gini dui no Museveni tika par ne miere ke kwanyo senyo ni miere ke kwanyo ko pien Museveni pe miero jo mariak pe miero down mano wigi tiu pien challenging wore mane mo bera pabangi nano wore ni en ko bere chane ne tiu ki tekom ke kenni pien wie pe tiu per ye po kwan peti gi ma wore ni romote mo ne pere kene ma pe won na o mago di chien ende mare de te nano down ma pe tuarte mo jem pere kene so by elections angwen imwaga en mudongi ki by karma o 2031 gimero by election para bero manyutni dano me national unity platform me constituency para bero miere ke kwan ko gero nyo ke kwan gi yo me court mano ke biter ke wai jono kwalo kuini makon Museveni gi kwalo kuijui neno so ka gitero gi court ke ram kwanyo gero ke gere ki be member of parliament neno manyuti down solo kere tanyigini yo gi dong en unyo kwoge ineno Museveni pe miero down ma challenging wore so I'm saying that there will be 4 by-elections by the end of this year 2026 in constituencies of opposition especially National Unity Platform of course and then by 2031 they're saying there will be 17 by-elections completed either by way of court or by getting rid of them through poison like they normally do so look for that. There will be those, and let me, we'll know about them as they happen. But that's their plan. Sometimes when we say these things, it doesn't mean it will happen as we say them. Sometimes they'll take a break and make changes to what they're doing or cancel it altogether. I had some people ask me about the bombings in that I talked about. So let me just say this about that. When we talk about certain things like that, okay? It is the fact that it goes out, the fact that it's shared internationally, the fact that if it does happen, the Western world will not believe Museveni. He will likely change his moves. He will likely not do those things. We bring this information so that people don't get hurt. I don't want to see that 2021 thing happen again when people were watching a game and there were bomb blasts everywhere. I don't want to see that. That is the reason I bring information like this. If I have it, if I know about it, I will share it. But get this. The SFC soldiers who were told to complete this mission, okay? The ones who were told to go and do that bombing thing were all taken by the Museveni people and have not been seen since. I feel bad that has happened to them, but I also feel like they should not be complicit to activities like those. Atika wachi la wo maja kero gene post video Facebook kuna wachi Museveni tika miatu to bomb kama jua matia na yanudilu asino ye tiye guchoka ye ka waji gina kumeno petere ni omiero time ana waji wek dano ogwoke wek ngo topo time kira yao time 2021 majo bere na yanudilu kinero gede da kibomi kun Museveni no wachi al-Shabaab kun no ena yo setting bomb ene ana wadi lock any work down po one inano so watch lock any kina mu kene work job ba Museveni gi pero mu mede ki tij money machiru ni piano don wan wa kero lock yo wako ka don ko wachi gi tim gini ni chalu dire ni report ko bino e news oberata ki mewa ma ukati la woni chino inano ni ngo lock gini po be bela da ngata ba no ye pere don gino ni ki be kwero ge da inano we chi eno wero wan wakati ki loka enini ka boke wo dano ma SFC ma ki orgi ni ku chat buten teach enini ingeni John yani wen Museveni ma orgi we o ma orgi to yo ma waku bedichan pe pia kinano ge man tim mejui imon kacha dano ma wan na imon duong ma pera mo wachu ne Ma tek ki orgi mission no katu wako ki wow jocha ki toge ko man pange pingo SFC pero mo nanu gina tika time kom tuluwot gi tie dan mo ko mal ka lok ka orgi mission mani lok mano kati ki mago gi ki tweyo gi ko jomo ke andong neno gi no gu wanero jomo ke an peke medi neno gi tie dan ma wonu tie kenyu mano wari butika tiji SFC pedo neno manaka kar moni mo kar ngech bere pobi neno pian mo ki wow gi acid mo ki deo gi ko bo ki neo ki ya be don peki duki liel inem so ana waju lok piano wa nge pel beri popore trap ma megini inem so anyway Museveni and his people view National Unity Platform and its members, you know, they're young, they're youthful. He views that group as the future, a changed Uganda, and that is disturbing to them. That is why you see the cabinet elections, several of the members of parliament, several of the ministers that have been appointed, he has tried to go younger, to try to combat National Unity Platform youthfulness. But what he doesn't realize is that most Ugandans, 85% of Ugandans are youthful, are youths, because of the systems that he has set in place, where people die of average age of 50, 55, I think is Ugandans, you know, average age of good life or living. So because of the systems that fail so many people, that is why we have a more youthful population than we do have of seniors. The few seniors that he has that are 55 plus are the ones working in his cabinet, which he has finally dropped. The Okello Riems are busy crying. But these are people who have been in the ministerial position since the 80s. Okay, so you can tell that he's trying to match the National Unity Platform youthfulness because National Unity Platform stands for the future. National Unity, when people see the groups or the representative for National Unity Platform, they see a new Uganda, they see youthfulness, and that is what Museveni is trying to combat. Okay? And they're legitimate, they're honest, they give hope to Ugandans. KCCA, for example, is full of National Unity Platform. Young people just ready to work, ready to bring a new Uganda for Ugandans. So it has been disturbing to them, and that is why there's several other changes, and there's going to be more. That is why Museveni wants to eliminate certain people, just so that he can fit in with the people that are in National Unity Platform. So great job, National Unity Platform. Keep up the energy, keep up the good work. You know, let's move forward. Visit Rwanda. Did you know that the Arsenal, one of the reasons why Museveni wanted to bomb one of the Arsenal gatherings for the sports match that they were going to play or watch the other day is because Museveni, Salim Saleh, and obviously Rwanda have put in a lot of money, billions of Uganda shillings. I think they said 21 billion Uganda shillings was put in by Museveni and his brother into Arsenal campaign of Visit Rwanda. So that campaign was dropped by Arsenal. Arsenal no longer wears the jerseys with Visit Rwanda. Because of the recent, obviously what happened at the White House where President Trump had the Congolese president Tshisekedi have a meeting with Kagame of Rwanda and sign documents to cease fire or to stop the M23 from infiltrating Congo and attacking Congo. Well, that agreement, obviously, whatever was happening went all over the world, and Arsenal dropped the campaign of Visit Rwanda. Now, dropping that campaign created a huge loss for Museveni's family, his brother Salim Saleh, and obviously Rwanda, because whatever they had invested, they had not reaped yet. And you see how, let me just say how false or weird or strange these people are. So they have the campaign of Visit Rwanda, but when the tourists came into Rwanda, they drove them throughout the night into Uganda to come to the tourist attractions and still acted like they're still visiting Rwanda. You know, as much as they have looted Uganda, they have not been able to take away all of Uganda's beauty and all of Uganda's tourist attractions. But they will insist and continue to do certain things. But the hand of God is so powerful because it has been impossible for them to take all the animals. They've taken animals from Karuma Falls, from Kidepo National Park, from Queen Elizabeth National Park, from Chobe National Park, from Karuma, or even the crested cranes they've taken there. But these animals are meant to live in Uganda, and they cannot thrive. The giraffes they've taken, the elephants they've taken, but they can't do well because that is not their natural habitat. As God has it, those animals are meant to be in Uganda. So however much they have looted the country of Uganda, it is impossible for those animals to thrive there. So they drive these tourists through the borders of Uganda and Rwanda, bring them into Uganda, and still act like they're continuing with the tourism of Rwanda. Many people have discovered that it's false, and so that has stopped. Visit Rwanda is no longer going to be seen on the Arsenal jerseys or on the trains in Europe or on the buses in Europe anymore, because that campaign was dropped. And that is why Museveni wanted to bomb these locations where Ugandans were going to be watching Arsenal, because he does not like what Arsenal stands for anymore, because they dropped them. Atika wachi, tie campaign money ma Salim Saleh gene Museveni, guker billion aye Piero Wachel, guker billion Piero Wachel. I campaign makilwoni visit Rwanda. Chena yene gichulu bot Arsenal, moberu team mati Europe. Gukeru chene ene wen wek ngo, gikeru kuno gitika sponsoring campaign mawachi visit Rwanda. Ni ubinu lem Rwanda beadida, Rwanda kwa leiti ye, Rwanda kwa ngoti ye. Piangu kwalo le ki Uganda. Karuma keni ki kwalo jem le mapola ta, babungi rigi nga gini, wengit kwalo ki kiter ki Rwanda. So, gitika luongu joma binu ka lemo pengi ki Rwanda, ki kelu gi Rwanda, kuno kikero chalo Europe kacha no batch kikero visit Rwanda ijaze ka unune anu jaze and chata me odilu ni no kikero visit Rwanda jo Arsenal ko mani kare ma gene loke M23 ni kate maki no ni Kagame aitika keto M23 Congo ni M23 ubero monya Kagame gene Museveni. President Trump mi Americani oluogi gene Congo le president me Congo ni wachi ubino beri amiti wunu signing kartache ni kunu wunu waju ni luen nyo M23 miero ako ki Congo wunu chero chibet gangu pingo wunu tika yelo jome Congo Kagame chero chikero chie tishekeri banu kero chie ento Kagame ter dokli pap umede ako ki luen nyane ngeu gen wigi tego en gen jod Rwandese ni wigi tego deda Kagame pingo pemede ki luen wakuberi chani M23 futi kunu M23 ungene uberi monya Museveni gene Kagame neno so en log makati machilu kumene uweko jome Arsenal ubol Rwanda ko ki gene ki campaign ne kuberi chani campaign ne pere ento billion me Uganda Pierre Rio Wiachel gibali Rwanda meno weko dong la wo maja Museveni ye catch pianeno ni Ugandans pingo tilberi Arsenal utia chara nanu dilu Arsenal pingo Museveni no wachi abi goyo gi ki bomb wega wachi Al-Shabaab yo goyo gi kita ya in 2021 Museveni ukero bomb chadondo madan Pierre Bero we adi kulu talkere Al-Shabaab kwero wachi ne ni gina ye ngo ni gina ye chelo bomen ineno Al-Shabaab kagutemu gimoni gien wachi wane watemu no ben gitika wega Al-Shabaab bikarene wachi wan po watemu gene Lobo ma wako wa ngeyo ko ninga ginene po bero Al-Shabaab manyo to bero Museveni ko beri chani Museveni petigi mama rama temune la boy danu ngeno ne pien wajoma en or ni dekte mu gena tika wachi gena tika or gini meno no wako wiya tung gena ne pingo joma en or ni pedo lok gini tung bodge ineno wonlo mon Uganda kong do konwa do ki oru ka temu jema tata pingo pe lok gini tung kacha ineno Anpe amaru gin lok me luen ki ngongo gi ento Johnny do ramu wi wow kitim gini ning ineno jui no gi tiki plan machilo plan anabi wachi plan mo kene wen chilo so campaign we visit Rwanda ni donc pere chene gi chero chito pego gama en chene mano gi tamne gi gama ni pien lulem lobo kago bien Rwanda ki kelu gi idiwo ki draw gi ki kelu gi Uganda pien jeme me anana ti Uganda ye Koma ko kwalo lei ko okuno taga. Pien ruba pokero ki kuno. Ineno ti lei mogo makwo ka mukene kama gien ruba okergi yeni keken maka ukwanyu ri kikama en kwa ye chowe kacha itero ri Rwanda ibi noni ri ni ano botaro pien koyo kwango nyocheng no perwate kikom ri mano ri no do kwene Uganda chowe kacha so gine tika chungu wigi oko ineno ruba kitiche Johnny dongu temo kwalo Uganda madongun gutimo gimo ke ken magitwero timo ne ento kwalo Uganda ungayo gyo pe kwale pe giro mutingu lobo ke walobo gu kwalo ba lobo na wunu perie gelne kwale yata kwa ngoni lobo kitingu kibere kilori kite Rwanda ento pe nywalo gimo pien lobo en Uganda rubao yubo pi Uganda neno en gino weko Johnny Chwingi wang dog wang juini. Pien petie gimo magukwalo macher kuokono. I'm saying that everything that they've endeavored to steal from Uganda does not thrive in Rwanda. Even the coffee that they brand, Rwandese coffee that they take from Uganda, they cannot transplant successfully coffee plants from Uganda and have them thrive in Rwanda because God made for certain plants to exist in certain places. That is why cactus grows in deserts and cactus does not grow in tropical climate. That is why palm trees are in certain places and palm trees are not in certain places because God meant for it that way. It is beyond our thinking. It is beyond what we can imagine that certain things are in certain places because they are meant to be there. And this is what pisses them off because they cannot transplant Uganda. They've tried. If they could have done it, by now, we would have no place called Uganda. They would have transplanted. So now what they're trying to do is to pour themselves onto Uganda and force their leadership and power on top of Ugandans so that Ugandans will diminish. But that is impossible. Like I said, God meant for Uganda to be where it is with the people born there to exist there. There is no human being that can change that. And they don't understand that. So we must fight. We must continue doing what we have to do. Atika wachi, pegiromu kwalo wan Uganda no weng meterwa Rwanda. Eni petwere. Gitamni mierdongi nyonyoy wiwa. Ma eni bene po bitwere pianru ba kita no eno yubo kere. Ena ye kito beberu kere. Eni ano gena kere gena ruba kere chunya ena na logo eni we. An bena po eni gini dong tika wachi lokba amali lokba ibere amalo kom ana wachi uko berisha kaya da kani gineni ni atika temne pian mi achene unopatemo ento ruba okere chunya en we atika wachi uni tija mi mo mano wana dana ni po abinian Bobby Wine and Mattie ni chagula ni sentamu tie pian ruba okere gini chunye mapebi lokeni. You know, I'm saying His Excellency Chagulanyi Sentamu is doing what he does because he must do what it is because God put it in him. There is no way that it's going to be different. I'm doing this because somehow it's in my heart. It was given to me to do. I was given the ability to do. If you think that I'm doing this for any personal gain, financial gain, you're wrong because I'm not. It is in my heart to do. That is what these people don't understand. They force everything. That is why Muhoozi must exert force on anything because it is not natural or naturally occurring. If Muhoozi was meant to be the successor in Uganda, it would happen without any force. But it's not. That's why I'm here. That's why there's other people everywhere. So no matter what they do, even if they visit Rwanda on the United States flag, even though which will never happen, by the way, no matter what they do, it will not succeed because it was not meant to be. Not meant to be. Okay? Next thing is DEOs and RDCs. So the next plan for them is to try to destroy, everybody's asking me about the former speaker, Anita Among. I'm going to get to that before I end the video today. So just give me some time. I will get to Anita Among, okay? I want to finish the list of items here. The next thing they want to destroy is education, to just tilt it a little bit lower. Education standards for Ugandan children and education and school owners that are Ugandan born. They're trying to make sure they're out of business. They don't have the schools, or the schools decline in performance and all of that. Obviously, you have seen that Museveni has pronounced his wife, who is not here physically. Okay, let's say Janet Museveni is alive. Okay, it has been at least 6 months that she has not been seen, not 6, let's say 5 months. Let's say 4 months. It's been 4 months that we have not seen Janet Museveni anywhere. We have not seen her walking by. We have not seen her saying anything. We have not seen her come out on Museveni's swearing-in ceremony. We have not seen Janet Museveni anywhere. But I can tell you that Museveni still nominated his wife as the Minister of Education, despite rumors that she's dead, despite rumors that she's incapable, incapacitated, despite despite the fact that we have not seen her. That is how much they've manipulated a country that should succeed and be on its own. We have several eligible people to lead the Ministry of Education. We have several educated. In fact, Uganda is one of the most educated countries in Uganda. Makerere University used to be one of the best universities in Africa, where we fed into schools like Cambridge, Oxford, and everywhere else in the world. When Museveni came, he made sure to dial that down because his group were uneducated and they did not want competition. Atika wachi kuberichani plan gitieni omier ginene girero gine kwan I Uganda. Gine ne joma lu gine wegi gang kwani mati annually me Uganda omier kinene kilor gang kwani gyogo. Yes, Kevin, I'll speak about that too. Sorry, when I watch the comment section, sometimes I'm thrown off, but keep them coming. I'll answer as we go. Bwegang kwani umiere kinene kilorgan kwani geo kapegiti joma ake Rwanda. Joma standard me gankwan me level weng me Uganda umiere kinene kidwaro pendeda. Kuberichani kuna dano luteng mogo chere gankwan wala bombati we atkwane. Kimiete ubed madok raj loy ene kego. Joma tie ki gankwan mati jo Uganda umiere kinene ki kwanyo license geo gonyo ki ket wel madom mano gen petwer chulune. Neno. So, manyuti, kira nati wachinene, Uganda, watie ki kwan mala maloyo uno ilobo Africa weng. Makun Uganda, makerere uberno university, ikarpa boregi, ikarpa mingi, makere no ber university na machel nyamario ilobo Africa weng. Mano jo mauti ya kwan makerere, kitero gi ilobo wako chalo Oxford, piano standard gi rara kuno. Kuberi chawani, inoni, grade mekwan, unyo standard mekwan I Uganda. Tika doping, jui. Karma Museveni donyo Uganda kumanu ni standard megan kwan piano no ni Uganda wigi yora deda. Choma riyaga deda. Miere nene e balo enne ko pian gian ruya yela mati birni. Pepe na kunyan wa gankwan. Pegi ngekera gankwan chal kere. Chu no ni miere nong dano, miere dwak diwi dano ko wegi. Dor go bed yot. O wer ke tor gankwani. And the nano kero down a child minister of education. Okwano giri P3. Ena eke miyo ni bed minister megan kwan. Karma Janet bino child minister megan kwan ni. Museveni kuno ni certificate pa jo mo kwano duong egere imakere kacha. Museveni pingope wang and office pa registrar mati makere niyo. O wow history o weng pa certificate o weng. Pien karma dong Janet don child minister megan kwan ni. Well, don't show on certificate any come. One now get a certificate you get in Nasa road the way. Don't get choya mera choya kun poki wari o kilorem. We are in non position ka weng. Tie jo mogo make chwalo gi mo be Rwandese maybe ambassador wao. Pegging e walo. Pegging e mogo tifonu tijgi ki appointment madong ki gi ye. Mano wigi peti kuberichani anywhere water Museveni. One miero mak gi money ka di chi en watch en no inde mak en. Mam kundi wa chieni no put pia we oye. Now, Jocha lu mi ma pegu kwana malu kwa diang magi mogi peke ento gimete gitu Uganda. Malobo Uganda ni. Gimet pien gingeni Ugandans one we were tiu one were yeah. Gimoy kena mi okay ngarma me Uganda. Obekere teach obenana yone ba onen. Obek eno wero anoni lawo maja food kelu dago ni Minister of Education. Dago ni pia waneno dueda ngwen kulu. Okay, kete dago ni kome kwa pota. Due ya ngwen. Minister me gankwan pa oneno. Sat result kati kono es kono nge es ngo. Result kati minister pa oneno gankwan ke wow onyum ki wachila ni amcha onyum cha rutine go dano lutino gaba. Minister of Education pa winyu duane. Gankwan make wow duanta pa winyu duan Minister of Education. Certificate ki pronouncing graduation called pass out kongo. Pa oneno Minister of Education. Ento cabinet kinoni Minister of Education miera puru bed en dago motani Janet Museveni makome peni ana yeki bikero kundano Uganda mokwano duan ta down mokwano duan ta. We have several educated Ugandans who can take on the Ministry of Education and run with it and make it successful and make it change the lives of Ugandans. But Museveni must put his wife, who is not here, who is presumed dead, must be the one in that position because it is how he does things. Uganda, if we are not upset about things like that, I don't know what will. Because the more we sit and watch, the worse things will get. Because Museveni teases us before he produces the ultimate. Okay? He let Janet all hold that position for the previous 4 months, even if we never saw her. But since nobody complained as much, he still continued to nominate her as the cabinet minister for education. This is what they do. And that is why if we don't pay attention, we will never catch on. I pay attention because I want to catch on to things like this. It is not fair. We have several educated Ugandans who can take over the Ministry of Education and make it a success. A success. It doesn't have to be his wife. Museveni's wife doesn't have to be the Minister of Education. Museveni's son does not have to be Chief of Defense Forces. No. Museveni's daughter does not have to be the leader of religious sects in Uganda. Museveni's son-in-law does not have to be, Karujire, does not have to be the overall of the judicial system. This has made, and now they've done something new where they've hired the minister appointed into the Foreign Affairs Office is a Rwandese, Canadian, and whatever Ugandan. About being Ugandan is super questionable, okay? But this is somebody who they have given the entire immigration office. I'm talking national IDs. He's going to be the one printing them and authorizing them. He's the one who authorizes passports and IDs and travel documents. He is the internal minister of affairs. Internal minister of affairs. That means Rwandese will get passports whether they are born today, yesterday, or going to be born 5 years from now. It doesn't matter. We are going to have an uncontrolled, excessive printing of national IDs, passports for these Rwandese people for as long as this guy is still the Minister of Internal Affairs. The whole country of Rwanda can possess Ugandan passports, born or not. I mean, they can even say, my kid, who I'm going to have, if I have a boy or a girl, I'm going to pick these names. I'm just going to get a passport now for Uganda. Because they all know that they rely on Uganda. Not much happens in Rwanda. For a tiny country like it is, there are a group of people that if they could believe in themselves, I think they would do good for themselves. Honestly, I really do think that Rwanda, if they put in all the effort in their country with what they have, because God has a way, when he gives you something, he knows why. I think they do well. But the fact that they're trying to do this wrong thing, they can't succeed. They will not. And that's what bothers them and makes them so hateful and mean, is because they're failing at forcefully doing something that doesn't work. And it won't. See? So anyway, next thing. So education, let me speak about that. All DEOs and RDCs are going to be required to be Rwandese. District education officers will be Rwandese and RDCs will be Rwandese. And their job, remember when they had to register all students with EMIS and IDs and all of that? Those were to gather information about which schools kids are going to and who owns those schools and how the parents fare. So they're going to figure out a way to shut down Ugandan owned schools by means of saying you don't have this, you don't have that, because the Rwandese counterparts already have existing excellent schools with all amenities. I'm talking whatever you can think of. The owners who are from Rwanda already set up schools with unbelievable amenities. Now, with those, it'll be easy to get, okay, Ugandans who are participating in this area of education to be kicked out of the business. Somehow there will be a way to say your school doesn't have a field, your school doesn't have this, or there will be high fees to pay. Tuition fees will go super high because they're going to set them up and make sure that those schools run out of business so that these Rwandese people continue successfully run this education thing and intentionally make education even worse. They will lower standards. They will require less. They will produce less, which means a generation or a few generations will come up with nothing. Remember, their children go to certain schools. Not all schools have Rwandese children. No. Their children go to certain schools because they're fully funded and they have all the funds. They have. Rwandese do not lack anything. None. As long as they're in Uganda, they're fully funded. So it makes it for indigenous Ugandans to fail by nature of how they set things up. So that's education for you. It looks like I'm going to have to come back later today for Anita Among, but let me finish these items. Gankwani ma tika wachineni. Gitika miete gilo gangkwan mo beru pa jo mano gitie gi ake Uganda. Wek gangkwan pa jo ma ake Rwanda. Ena yo dong. Pien ko beri chane inem jo ma ake Rwanda no gitiki chene jemi weng. Chene ka pe charbot salim saliki miyo chana mia. Ka chene pe bot gi Museveni gi miyo chana mia. Eno we Rwandese gina yupoko chene charni. Ino la ming moma pe po jo ay walare. Ena la pok chene gina ikin gang. Pien no gina ye Gubiano kichene menano ne gikwanyo gimoni ni maybe kero maybe jeoni wera gam chenani. Giana ye ti business mechente. Okay? Churches. They're going to break churches claiming NEMA, especially the Pentecostal churches. All of the ones benefiting from foreign sponsors. You know, there's several of those that have children's homes or have education programs for children that are funded from, you know, good faith people from abroad and all of those. Those people are going to lose their services or their churches because they want to make sure that churches are controlled by Rwandese. You know, there's a thing about Museveni understanding where mind control is most powerful, and spiritually is one of the big ones. That is why all church leaders go to Museveni for brown envelopes. They're on his payroll because they believe, or he believes, that Ugandans will listen. And Ugandans are very faith-based, so that when the pastor or so-and-so says something, they will believe it and do exactly as they say. So Museveni uses them as his mouthpiece for certain things. Like he said, they must heavily promote Muhoozi because Ugandans have rejected Muhoozi. So he wants the church or interreligious council to preach those messages to get people to like or love Muhoozi. Which, like I said, there's so many things you can force, but not that. You can't make someone love somebody because of your opinion, not what they feel. There's a saying that goes that people will always remember how you made them feel, no matter what you do. How they feel is most important. Now, Atia wachi, gu wachi kuberi chawa ni miere gine ni church, kori church mogo maki goe bao kin Kampala kenyu ko ngongoni. Miere kitu ge hawa gube wachi nema, nyo gu kero church kama nema tiye mapeye. Church e pole uberu Pentecostal. Jo ma gine saved kianga gini. Church mogo ma timu business ko matiki organization machalo watoto gi magama chana ki wagoni. Chen kori church eno ne gube loro go pien pegi miete lotino Uganda onon kony mo keken kika mo kenne mapat ki kony manonok magno geno bo miuni manonok makidwoni crumbs ne. They want to make sure that Ugandan children have no means of getting help from anywhere else in the rest of the world. That's why they will close like babies' homes or charitable organizations or school-funded programs, NGOs and things like that, because like the Watotos and all of those, because they want to make sure that they control the little that comes to Ugandans, to the children, if they get any. Because their main intention is that children of Uganda do not get any, or parents of Uganda do not get any help to get or improve their lives. Chiane madano no mano nok metel tiene gang kwan kingongo. Gimiere gineni eni giloro yo nego. Wek blue tieno Uganda unyo generation en machi birni. Gun pego nong yo me kwa me yupu kwa ge me anyim. Now, this is minor, but it's something. Brick makers or joma yubu gene okay, brick makers who are going to be required to have licenses now. As small as that might sound, sometimes it's a livelihood of somebody and that's all they do and that's all they rely on. They're going to be required to apparently get licenses. The Rwandese people are now taking over all quarries where people go and buy stones, where they hit stones or make certain quantity or sizes of stones. Kireka, go down. I'm familiar with that because I remember that place. All the local Ugandans who are in the business of brick making or construction material making, such as stones and quarries and things, they've all been given ownership to run these people, which means Ugandans are now going to be stifled out of those activities. Joma goy going to joma yubu matafale gini. Don't keep watching miero nong license. Kai goy matafale ni gangi kacha idika liu nyo kwene. Kuberi chawa ni dongubo kelu lok ningo, license miere nong, me gono matafali ni me yupo oti. Okay, go kong. Manyuti ni, jo mati yu chale kwari, jo goyo gwen chale nanguoro kacha, unyo kilembe, tororo kachani. Don peke biyegi me medeki tichi ane. Pian tichi ane, kita gumayo kere Lake Victoria, ki rej mati ye weng. Ingeni lumak rej weng ber jo ay Rwanda ke kenwe. Jo mati Uganda peke ye ningu mak rej Lake Victoria kunyoni. Just like they stopped people from fishing on Lake Victoria, and it's all been given to Rwandese, it is now coming down to building materials and construction, like quarries or bricklaying companies or people that make bricks to sell to people building things. They're now going to be required licenses. Now, licensing may sound normal or okay, but in a country like Uganda, this is such a small activity that you may be bricklaying just to build your little hut somewhere or home. It's not a big deal. It is not a company size whereby, you're making lots of money that you need to get a license. No, it's a small, minute business, not even a business. Maybe you're making bricks for you or breaking rock to build your home. They're prohibiting that because they want you to buy it now. Give me a gweng unyo matafale weng katie unyo ka imir yupo miere chewil ki chingi ki botki kitika yenyu yo menongo chana ki yo weng now. SFCs next. There's been over 70 SFCs who have, I shared a post last night and I said defected. Defected means leaving a military or a country. I think military is the best description. So over 70 SFCs have been leaving the SFC military whatever group of Museveni and his family. 70 have left on record in the last few days. And they've left with cash, electronics, ammunitions, or whatever. This is a sign to the Museveni people because it's a concern for them that they're losing loyalty and they're losing security in their camp. I'll tell you what, you down here a bear, Mati SFC Maureen or Rocky Tiki, Gungway Rocky SFC Kumbedi Chawani. Kun Gingway Manogo Qualo, Chiante, Unyo machine, Unyo Muduro King on Guinea. Because SFCs have witnessed a lot of their partners get abducted, killed, or they've seen them mutilated in the hospitals. Because when Museveni gets upset or suspects somebody of doing something, and I'm talking SFCs, he doesn't wait for the verdict. He acts instantly. So these SFC members are seeing every single day that for a slight mistake or a confusion, Museveni and his people will take these SFCs, punish them. Some of their colleagues they've never seen after being taken away for punishment. Some of them they've seen mutilated in military hospitals, legs cut off or whatever. They do willy-nilly. They don't care what the result is or if you did something or not. So because they're seeing these things firsthand, they're feeling like they're next, which is true. Look at Anita Among. It is surprising that after what has happened to Anita Among, Oboth is so excited to follow in her shoes. Literally, he is following and will end up like Anita Among. Typically, he will end up like Anita Among. Okay? Same thing that SFCs and the military are facing. When they see their friends being taken away to be punished, they don't see them coming back. They wonder where they went. There are no graves for these people. They don't know where they are. They don't know what type of punishment they're getting. But the few that they see are mutilated. Burned, arms missing, severely punished, crazy, because some are given poison that it alters their mind. So with that fear of what they see, they're leaving the military. I don't blame them. I wish more would do that. I think I watch Jome SFC, tika mwechoki Pierabero, group Pierabero, o mwechoki gene, ki teach gi makiloni SFC ni. PN, Museveni kangaramo ba, kabal mo time, en pekuoro mengeno ni anga mo timungoni. Ngarumo eken ma Museveni tike de suspect come, ki mako, ki wono, ki no kene ginano gi anyim, unyo kene kene peginendo lo. Kanyo gunano gi no giti odiat chalo mutabika no wigu balero. Ki no kene ginano gi no ki ngolu kom gi atata, no ki wano gi atata. Ma gene kom ki wigi ke ken gi wachu jone. Wanto, natural wati line, madani. Ada dainani in kai nanu gina Museveni timo ki jo mati tim wu in tuaro tamani in bobo oikomi betuare. So jami majoni tika nanu ne kita jo cha timu kere jo mati mon mat ake Uganda kero luore kom lutian mokene giti kariu ki mon makonye pe ena dong tika ponu wi Museveni gini pien nene Join dong tika ngwecharo manyuti pien gamente ba Museveni udonyo ki mudoro ada daine ni Museveni ki bikwanyo ki mudoro peti yo mukane. I'm saying that the fact that Museveni came by the gun, by the barrel of the gun, it is very likely he's going to leave that way. And it will be the people that he's punishing so much, the SFCs who protect him against their wishes, against their abilities, against everything else that Museveni does to Ugandans. The same people he punishes viciously will be the same people to bring upon his downfall. I have no doubt about that. Museveni will not go by anything else, not an election. And we're trying peaceful means. Everything we're doing is peaceful. But the way he's treating those people on the inside, I kid you not, there will be a time that we will hear breaking news that the former president of Uganda is no longer the president of Uganda. I have no doubt about that. Like I said, they're forcing every scenario. It is not genuine. They have no follow-up on what they're going to try or do. That's a dangerous place to be. Atika wachi jami ma Museveni timo ki come down ni dong tika olu come down ho. Museveni obino ki mudogo. Adada ene ne kibikwanyu ki mudogo. Piyan jami ma entika temune kom lumo. Inke go ki kuberichawani o both. Uloboko speaker among kun chayo ben among kun ngeyo genatika teme kom among ini tamu ni o both the jale boberu pat kipa Anita among speaker di mado yo mapopore. How many speakers have left with a less honorable discharge? Every single one of them, all of them, not honorable discharge. Only Ugandans will end up, maybe Sekandi. Sekandi is still alive because Sekandi lives like he doesn't exist. He was a Speaker of Parliament. He did everything Museveni, did not ruffle any feathers, did not care about Ugandans, did not know whether it was AM or PM. That was Sekandi, and he's here. Anybody who's sharp or knows what they should do on their job as it is required does not leave honorably. No. Look at Kadaga. She doesn't look okay. Is it normal? No. No. None of them leave and still thrive and are honorable, and we can talk to them about how they did things so they can help the next generation. None. Every new speaker comes with a totally new script, like a new book, like a new level. A new script on how to run things. It's never about how it has been run for years. No. Museveni gives them a new one. I'm going to read to you what the bills that are required by that are required to be passed by Oboth, unbeknownst of his future. I know he knows what his future looks like. I kid you not. Several years from now, you'll tell me that I might have been right, because Oboth is going to end up worse than Anita Among. And I will speak about Anita Among later on. Should I go into Anita Among, or should we start that later? I have to be somewhere, but I will be back later today because I've not finished. But I want you to be hopeful, because what the Musevenis are doing is forceful. It's forceful and not natural and not designed by God for Uganda. Atika wachi, amiti po ubet kunungeni Uganda boloke. PM, Jami ma Museveni gitika temune kuberichawani. Jami ma gitika temune ki ditch. Pe jami ma rubanyo yoboni miyaru betie Uganda. Dok, jami, ti magiti temune ni pao bikwo, pao biri bana Uganda. Wona makitika wona kere ki jo mati mon makilwoni SFC ni angeyo ni Museveni keto bino kere ki mudogo ni obe bana ki mudogo bien down all chimiera chere abidugo koni ki loko Manita Among ki jami mokane ma metenyi. Okay, I will see you later. I will come back with Anita Among. I know everyone wants to hear. But I will come back. It's a lengthy episode, so I'll come back with that later. I love you all so much. I do. And keep the hope alive. Change is coming, and we're right where we are supposed to be. Watie kama miara waberi iye machalo Uganda matika limwa loga tie kabino ineno. Jama Museveni tika timoneni oboro betimo I karma dong tika chero wago ma oboro dong tika aki Uganda. O temo jame ma Museveni tika temo neni. O boro beru ki ministers shoka beat I buch. Kabaka mebu soga beri buch. Inero.